The narrow way cuts deep into the woods. The night won't fail to find us there. His eyes are glowing with infernal history, and broken fingers clutch at what was never there. Smoke rises from the bushes, and strange sounds cut the air. Throw your die and run with witch and tokelos, and to that wide dark heart that lies open like a lover's. And when you die, your grave shall be a continent.
Welkom. Good evening. Hallo David, welkom in die Twilight Zone in die Pink Palace by wyse van spreke virtually. Thanks everybody for being here. If you are, share please. Let's get the local musicians a bit more exposure that way. Just want to thank quickly Herotel Snowball, who somehow have been keeping my feed going. Thanks guys, through the storms. And then Leon van Zweel is helping us, like managing the technical back end of this whole thing. I'm just saying backside. He's sitting out in Ascot in England. Thanks, baie dankie Leon. Okay, so tonight we have Mr. David de Villiers, Dr. David de Villiers, however you know, all the way from Wellington. So you've got a David de Villiers from Wellington, and he's a senior lecturer in English. Volksvreemde ding wat die kerel aanvang at Stellenbosch University. But that's not why he's here, or maybe that's behind why he's here, because he's the front man of a band called Jeremiah Brimstone, a band that I love. And that intro you guys heard there and the slapped together video thingy, David hasn't even seen it. I hope he doesn't mind it. But that's a song, that's one of my favorite songs of theirs called Mr. Kurtz, He Dead. And it's very obviously based on Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. So I love it, that ominous thing. Maar kom ons begin by die begin, David. Waar die hel het hierdie proses begin? Waar het jy groot geword? Waarvan kom jy?
Ek is 'n Wellingtoner, of wel, ek hoop nie dit is ek al hier. Ek het groot geword hier vanaf ek so 6 was. En soos teenagers, I hated the place I was in. Maar hier sit ek nou. Toe ek weg is toe dit vermis. So ja, ek is gebore in Amsterdam. Maar dis maar bloot omdat my pa daar nie swart was, so it just happened that way. En toe ek hier groot geword van age 6 af.
Cool.
Na dit na skool en daai dinge 'n bietjie getravel, swat. En 'n paar ander plekke probeer, maar eventually kom settle.
Ek sien allerhande van my vriende rol maar weer terug, of die wind waai hulle terug, of miskien is daar magnetiese magte ter sprake, ek weet nie, maar ek sien Willem Mulder is ook nou weer daar. So
There's things going on in these mountains.
But daar's 'n nice critical mass of real creative talent daar so in Wellington aan die gang is. Ek sê bedonder, ek al 'n paar cool goed daar beleef. So
really nice.
Ja.
Sê
vir my, het jy was ja. Say the music side. How did you start with writing in English music?
I guess, I mean, like most people, you're going to find in teaching English somewhere, also considered at some point writing something, perhaps a novel, this, that, and the other. And I've always loved reading, and English initially was the language that I first made my discoveries in. So it was a nice bookshelf at home with some really strange and wonderful works there. So yeah, I mean, that's how it started. I guess I wanted to do some writing and discovered my limitations along the way. But at the same time, I was passionate about music. So I explored writing lyrics from early on as well, from high school. And that's the thing that stuck. Well, that's the thing that I ended up feeling I could actually do pretty well, well enough to keep at it. The novel is deep in the drawer and will never be seen again. And just nothing else in one side.
And you say you started writing lyrics at school already. Does that mean you must have played in some way somehow? So did you have a band, or were you playing solo at the time? What happened there in the early days?
I mean, I got my first electric guitar, which was the only electric guitar that I had until about 2 weeks ago. When I was in standard 8, so that was grade 10, and started writing songs immediately, even before I could play the thing. At that stage, it was all about punk music, so we thought, well, it's legit to go at it that way, and wrote some songs almost instantly, like plucking away on one string type of thing, and canoodling sort of friends into getting instruments. My brother played the drums, and I had a friend who played the bass as well. So yeah, we just started that way with some. I mean, there was some punk in it, and there was a lot of Joy Division in the background there. So that was the theme. And some Cure.
Okay, the Joy Division mention will make a few of my friends happy. They're probably giggling right away. We have lots of talking about that. Anyway, so the performing. I mean, I saw you. I don't know how many years ago that is. It's many years ago. There was where New Bar is now was L51, and Jeremiah Brimstone Band played. At the time, it consisted of yourself and Hendrey, who's still with you, and Pedro on bass. That's all I remember. I just remember that three-piece. Was that the first band that you had, or did you have something before that?
I studied at Stellenbosch, and so I played in a few bands during my years there. So after school, the first band I was in was probably the one that did best in terms of attracting an audience. It was just about the time when Stellenbosch was going to explode with bands like the New Girls and so forth. Arnu and few were around. There was a mutual set of friends, and I played in the band that I joined. The only band in my life that I played in where I actually joined a bunch of strangers, except my brother, who was the drummer there. and they invited me to be the singer. We were called Mudbelly, and we played rock, basically. It was sort of alternative rock, and went at it for about a year or so. And I mean, I think things went really well. We're actually on the cards to play at Wingert Rock that year. Arno actually started opening for us at some point, and started impressing people even as a solo performer at that stage. But then the guitarist went back to the Netherlands, and we dropped at that stage, being students. Then there was a band I played in with Renee, my wife, and another friend of mine, King Ilk, which, I mean, the purpose of that band was to really delve into Sonic Youth territory and to go really discordant. And I love that music still, but it proved to be unlistenable to others.
To me, it still is. I mean,
we played some gigs with the Noodles, in fact, opening for them. But yeah, I mean, and we let that go. So Brimstone is my third band that I started in Stellenbosch, and at that stage I went for a very different format and feel.
Okay, and the lineup that I saw initially, was that the first lineup?
It's actually the first person I played with for that band was a guy called Andrew Beck. He was a pianist. He was studying music.
Oh, yeah.
And we started working.
Yeah,
I remember working with him on a few songs. One of them was a song for Cohen. It was sort of a song, in honor of Leonard Cohen. And there were, I think, Mr. Kurtz might have been in there. I think it's one of the earliest songs that I'd written for this band. And so yeah, we got Hendrey involved along the line. He started playing on coffee cans and at some stage got snare, but he was very reluctant to move beyond the snare and the coffee cans. He didn't really, to this day, he's very upset that we pushed him ever more towards a full drum kit. He kept saying he's not a drummer. So he's a mood creator, percussive mood creator is actually his business. So yeah, so we got him in, and then Pedro on the bass. So we were four for a while, but Andrew had to move on as well. So that's why you saw us when Andrew took the
Yeah. Every now and again, somebody that I run into ask and tell me about Andrew, and we wonder what's happened to him and what he's up to, because he was quite an interesting character and an amazing musician.
Strange.
So, yeah, very. Oh, yeah. He had a way of. He was sort of intimiderend in a sekere sin, because I'd speak to him, like I'd say hello, Andrew, and then there'd be a lag of many seconds that he just looks at you, no response, and then he says, "Oh yeah, hello." So there's always that uncomfortable silence when little. That's how I experienced it. Was very odd, but and for me, the Hendrey.
As you keep in mind, this was all the days when we had conference calls and we had to deal with a lag as well. So I mean, back then, now we would be fine with it, just wait. But he was very good guy actually. It was just he took a while. He was very thoughtful in his responses actually. So he just didn't just respond and say.
Yeah, and I've many times told people the story about L51 with Hendrey sitting there, because it's a very important element of his percussive kit that you did not mention. Because I remember the Frisco blicky, and I think there was a cymbal somewhere, but the really odd thing that he had was an old Mercedes hubcap and a spoon. But what was really funny is you'd be mid-song, and he would decide, no, he feels like a cigarette now, and he'll stop playing, and he won't be in a rush. He'll slowly, find his cigarettes, light it, like a tuig van van sy sigaret vat met 'n lekker drag en dan sal hy weer die goed optel en weer injoin waar he feels it's time to do it again. It was really yeah.
For
I
you speak much too much for Henry, but I think the way that he approaches making music is fundamentally the campfire ethic. So you're sitting around playing music, and it's all about a vibe. It's not about a construct that you have to perform perfectly every single time. It's a difficult construct to, well, it's a difficult idea to pass on to an audience, I guess. And it can make for weird moments, but sometimes it really makes for amazing sort of improvisational moments as well. So, you know, it goes either way.
Yeah.
But it's about mood for him. That's the fundamental thing.
Yeah, and I've always found it very entertaining anyway. So it was very it's interesting to watch him. So it's just so super chill. By the way, Jean Jordan sent his regards. Yeah, I reminisced a little bit with Jean Jordan about the L51 times, and he said he'd like to drink the whiskey with you as soon as he has the opportunity again. So Jean Jordan out of Thailand sends regards.
That's necessary. Speaking of which, you can continue with. I forgot to bring my drink with me because I was so tense about getting this connection going. I felt like a complete football basically trying to set it up. Here we are.
Now you got to get your priorities right. Especially today was the day to celebrate our new freedom. Cheers, everybody. Welcome to level 2. Yeah, and also load shed level 2, sadly. So speaking of which, exactly. So we gotta get you going with your. Let's have a song there from you. You cool with that?
All right. I mean, we have business to talk about in terms of the band's upcoming plans, but I've decided to also. So I'm going to play you tonight, if it works out, in two songs. The one I'm playing first is actually a more recent one, and it's one that may or may not end up within Brimstone, because I've also, you know, we haven't seen much of each other recently, so I've also been thinking about playing on my own. It's not so much going solo, but rather just expanding the kind of format within which you know, I perform. So yeah, this is a fairly new one, and I'm not yet sure what it's going to be called, although it's thematically related to the idea of the Anthropocene.
Okay.
Sorry, one more thing I need to do. Sorry, I just had something muted here. All right, here we go. Now for ashes, so the story goes. The lyric in one piece less repose. There is no word upon this earth for such as I. Cannot grow, will not know, shall not die. And no matter how the stars that you play, the earth still projects another fate. I only understand the rain of gods. Things bed with the winters as they pass. I've raised my bills, I've ravaged fields, I've the demon of my love wait all too soon. Nazi revolution, or treated of the institution. Like we know whatever is the case, to read the signs together, what comes next, predicting the violence of the day.
Dankie man. So that's a new one.
Yeah, that's new. Okay, I mean, end of last year, new. Not that. I mean, now under lockdown, I've been working like a maniac at my job. So cheers, finally. By the way, my whiskey has arrived. So
George. So this is a. How many are there still any of these left?
I'm afraid to say yes. We at the only place we really sell CDs have been gigs, and as you all know, our gigs have been progressively fewer and further between over the years. So we keep on selling whenever we play, but we don't play that often. So I think we have about 150 of the original print still left. And I'm sure that'll go as the years go by. But I have an aim that by the time I'm 80, they will all be out there.
Well, for those who are watching, this is the album. It's From the Wrong Side of the River, and it is actually very, very good. I mean, I played it one day on the stoop to a well-known, and he's well-known, but he's also known for his good taste, and he managed, or he had a record label and had all sorts of good musicians with him, and he'd never heard it, and his first words was, "Is it local?" And he loved it, and yeah, I love it as well. So there you go, Jeremiah Brimstone Band, From the Wrong Side of the River. I'll put the links to their page on the Twilight Zone afterwards. You guys can ask him. So I'm glad to hear in actually that there's still albums available, because then more people can get their hands on it, because it's nowhere on the streaming services anywhere. Not on YouTube, nowhere. I looked, I can't find it anywhere. So this is the only way you can get the music.
Well, I don't quite want to talk myself out of a possible sale here, but it is absolutely longer.
Is it?
What I did a few years ago was to put it on Bandcamp, and
is it on Bandcamp?
So yes, we did put a limit on the number of times one can listen to a song. So the point is, obviously, if you've been there and you've listened to it and you liked it, and you're not done listening by, I think, the third time, then it would be nice if you can contact me for a copy. But if you want to check it out first, it's available there to just have a listen and see what's what. But then this homemade cover with that. So there's the major distinction.
Exactly. And you don't get all the lyrics.
Yeah, that too. So, exactly. So there's a
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
booklet. So and all the people in the
Yeah.
band were involved
There
in
you
the
go.
making of that. Yeah. So,
Cool. So speaking of that, how did you run into? I mean, there's Elmi and there's Heine. I've run into Heine many times, and then the violinist I saw her with you guys, but then she left. I think. Let me see. What was her name?
Natalie.
Yeah, Natalie. Natalie Mason.
Yeah. All right. So I mean, I'll quickly talk you through the members. Basically, the way the band
Okay.
started, the disconfiguration of the band started was that at some point I went abroad to the east, and so that first installment of the band ended. And when I got back, I didn't really immediately pick it up. So Hendrey ended up on a farm here in Wellington, the same farm as Heine. And they started talking music, and Heine used to have a band called Amapulu that he was in with Elmi. So he wanted to rope in Hendrey to do things for him. And then they were looking for a banjo player. I started playing the banjo with the later Jeremiah Brimstone stuff. And so Hendrey contacted me, and actually Heine contacted me. And I said to him, I have no interest in playing someone else's band at this stage. I want to get Jeremiah Brimstone up to speed. So we went for this sort of strange idea of pooling our resources, so to speak. So the two members from Amabulu, Heine and Elmi, she plays the accordion and the harmonica, and can also do keys
and trombone.
And Heine plays guitar, obviously, when he does his own music, and for Brimstone Band he does bass, he does the slide guitar or the lap steel, and he can also play the hang, which is this rather strange percussive instrument. So, I mean, he's an all-rounder as well. So, I mean, the two of them came from Amabulu, and then Henry and I from the Brimstone side. We got together and we actually set up a sort of strange double act. We didn't bring the material together. Heine's material is Afrikaans and has its roots in all sorts of musical styles, but including Boer music and all of that. And just very much at odds with the sort of moods that I like to set, although I like what he's doing with that. I mean, some people listening to that band actually were reminded of, I would say overseas people listening to that band, Amabulu, were reminded of things like Ogo Bordello even. I had on one or two occasions. Anyway, so we started playing together, and you often it was just a pragmatic decision to actually, when we landed a gig somewhere, we would do the two acts. Do one act and then take a break and then come back as let's say Brimstone Band. Usually Brimstone Band went up second.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw one of those gigs and I loved it. It was great. Listen, we running towards the possible load shed wall. So I suggest, I know we can continue a bit beyond it, but then you won't be able to play. So clap the next song and hopefully you can finish it before the power goes off.
How many minutes do we have?
1 or 2.
Oh my goodness!
Depends how.
This is gonna go.
Depends how
this is gonna go. Never mind. We'll see. All right. So this one is called. It's a Brimstone song. It's called Katabasis Now. I'm getting Lucas to play this one with me.
Okay, cool.
Well, of course, this is a bad idea. Now I just don't care. I'm going down. Now that everyone's so winner, this is purpose for a sinner going down. So cancel my events. I'm deleting all my friends. I'm going down. I don't bother to keep counting all the steps I'll be so bound down. Make my supplements and likes the little for my citizens. I'm going down. And I'm done please unsubscribe because I'm going down. Keep your wagons and your birds, you can stop them where it hurts. I'm going down. I know you don't think you're smart in politics, and fucking not, I'm going down. I live life again, I would not dare revise. Won't change a single thing, won't do it otherwise. Yet how it breaks to know, must we consider high. It's done to stoop too low. Reach a thing that shines, but there's heaven for that now. I'm going down. In the beginning was in me, from its time to be, I'm going down. They could diagnose you to disease, no cure, I'm here for fools, I'm going down. Keep your suit, true troubles, come on, I'm going down. But I live life again, I would not dare revise. Won't change a single thing, won't do it otherwise. Yeah, how it rains to know, must we consider high. It's got to stoop too low, reach a thing that shines.
Thanks, Eskom. Dankie, David. Hy het geloop.
Oh,
En
okay.
En Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas. My
Thanks,
12-year-old.
thanks, Lucas. Great. Okay. Now we can relax. Have you got candles ready, by the way?
I've got candles, but it's got to go pretty dark, I think, when the power goes. So we'll deal with it. Fine.
Okay. I like the way you say if. If the power goes.
On 2 occasions, my worst, well, my pessimism was actually contradicted by Eskom. They stayed online even when they said they would go.
Okay, well, let's see if we get lucky. Listen, the other thing that we certainly must have a just quick look at as well is you co-wrote. I think you co-wrote David Kramer's biography. Is that correct, or did you write it all by yourself?
No. In fact, in the case of the biography, which I co-wrote with a colleague of mine and a friend of mine, Tila Slubber, the idea was hers. So we were looking for a project, thinking about a project to do together, and she was astonished by the fact that no one had bothered to write something substantial about David, and asked me whether I might be interested in doing something like that with her, and I said sure. And so yeah, she wrote an email to the general website, and the person who ran that back then was his wife Renee Kramer, and so she actually responded at some point saying, it's chat. So it's at that point that the process began.
And what was your experience of doing it? What do you think? I mean, how do you feel about it? because it certainly had to be done.
It had to be done, and it was at the end of the day a great experience. Actually, I mean, the first thing is that I learned a lot about just the context out of which he came, and also a bit more about the South African music scene, which I really hadn't thought about in historical terms up until that point. There were some bands that I knew about. But I didn't really have a place for them. I mean, they were sort of floating around as these individual events, and but then I think this provided more of a framework, which I really like. And then working with Tilla was great. I mean, she's a very hard worker, so it ensured that this project actually happened. And then also working with the Kramers was great, because they left us to our own devices. But the material that we worked with, it's not going to let out of his house. So the archives that we had access to there were his personal archives, but we had to actually work there. So this also meant that we could on occasion have impromptu interviews, that kind of thing. If he was around, he wasn't always around. But then, so yeah, in that respect, we could ask him about things. We'd sometimes demonstrate something on the guitar. So that was good. That was a great process.
Well, thank you guys for doing it, because I think it's one of our really important singer-songwriters, obviously. Apart from the other contributions that he made with Talib later on and so on, and probably still going to do. Yeah, I saw him recently do a solo show. Yeah, it's amazing. So yeah,
I like that. I mean, what I wanted to focus on, actually, what we did for that project was actually primarily focus on him as a songwriter. There were too many dimensions to cover in great depth, particularly the musicals, complex business. So we focused primarily on the songwriting and how he developed into the songwriter that he became, and the kind of weird road that he walked. Because I mean, people often end up doing something that is. That you wouldn't necessarily connect to where they start out. It was a surprising source.
Just curious, did you write Matsulu and the Fall before you got involved with the Kramer biography, or during or after? Because it reminds me of a song. There's a similar vision for me about one of his songs. I'm sure you.
Which song is that?
I'm going to have to go and look for the name now of the song, but it's also about a traveling preach. It's about and there's a community or a village that's in trouble, and they promise, and this guy that arrives makes a deal with them for their children. That's the.
That was taken.
So there's
the idea there of the Pied Piper sort of thing, but that is from either Haste-To or the one just after. Matsulu is an older song than that, so he certainly didn't get the idea from me. I can tell you that much, because the number of people who heard that song would be fairly small. But Matsulu came out of a newspaper article that I read back in the 90s. And it was about this town, Matsulu, and the people of the town being upset by the fact that there were, and this was what the newspaper, it was a very brief notice. There we go.
Fantastic.
That's just gone. Okay. So the the visuals seem fine to me still, right?
Yeah.
Can you hear me still? Because I'm now Michael. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened with Matsulu was that this town, the people of the town were complaining to someone that there were many demonic possessions in the town. And it was just this it was this wonderful, strange story, or at least a glimpse into a kind of reality in South Africa, that finally allowed me to get something of that kind of darker, eerie vibe connected to a particular South African spot. I've never been to Matsulu in my life. I once drove past it and saw the name on the sign, but that's it. But it was just that story.
Where is it?
Interested me. It's up north.
Where is it?
Okay. Now I don't remember where it was. I would be able to tell you because he's actually been to Matsulu. I remember passing it when we were coming from the caves up there. Anyway, it's a very small place, and you know the newspaper articles get into details because what kind of detail can you actually get into? It was just the claim, I think, that interested the report. So there was not much to work with, but of course that was nice because then you can make up your own story.
Dust and calamity.
I like preacher showing up.
I like it. But just by the way, not next week, but the week after that, Heine will be on the show. We'll be chatting, and then we will be talking about Bulu more, obviously.
And to get into consent, so he said he would.
So far, it seems like he's in. I'll keep on pushing. I'm not going to take a no easily.
No, don't.
I need an excuse to introduce people to some of those songs. I mean, that Galas, for instance, and then there's some newer stuff that he did at the Icon sessions that was really nice as well. So yeah, I think the world must hear his stuff as well. So, but so the future for Brimstone, so you're going to be doing some solo duo work, maybe if you can't get the logistics sorted all the time, but so there's still songs on the the whole repertoire of Jeremiah Brimstone is not on this album. You've got lots more material that you have been playing actually.
In fact, it's one of these things that's sort of embarrassing to talk about in a way, but it's also exciting. Is the fact that we actually have a second album. The only problem is that we recorded it while we recorded it in 2017 already. With the guy producing it, helping us record it was Alex Bozas from Benguela, and we set up a recording spot in just outside Wellington in the mountains here on a farm, and moved in there for a week, 10 days actually, and recorded our second album, which is called Cabo Tormentoso. And the what happened then subsequently was that it's just a whole protracted story around mixing it. Ultimately, we did get Almir Botha to mix it as well, so that part is even done. Heine is just working still on a final track, appropriately called The End, that that he needs to wrap up, and then it's going to be mastered, and then it should come out.
Okay, so where must we apply the pressure to get this process to resolve?
I think it's going to have to be global pressure. But if you really want to push someone's arm, start with Heine. If he gets that song wrapped up, then we'll be back in business. I mean, there've been a number of things that got in the way, including more recently the virus, because we finally did resolve to launch it this year, and then the virus happened, and it all just went up in the air again.
Was that? I remember you kind of started talking to me about something you wanted to do. Was it that?
Yeah, that was the thing that had to happen. So it will happen.
All right.
But whether it's going to be able to do this with a proper live show as a launch, or whether we're going to have to try something like this or whatever, I don't know. But we're not there yet, but we're close. And I think it's a great album. I think I'm very happy with the songs that are on there. And we got Natalie to work, even though she was abroad. She wasn't part of the recording session itself, but we did send her the material to do overdubs on subsequently. So she's also there on the record.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's something to look forward to. That's great news. We need to start wrapping up. So I'd like to say, well, first of all, I just want people to understand that if Jeremiah Brimstone Band does play somewhere, it's not all dark and gloomy stuff, by the way. They can make you bounce like you won't believe. Really a fun band to watch. And so if they get to the point that they actually, and the circumstances are such that we actually have live bands playing, and it's starting to happen now, do check them out. You will be pleasantly surprised. It'll be a lot of fun, I guarantee you. Thank you, David. Keep on writing and keep on playing, and we'll check you guys somewhere, I'm sure. And yeah, what else did I want to say? Just next week, I got hold of Guy Collins. I think, David, you may know him as well. Guy used to play in Billy Goat, and he played, and he played with Gerald a lot, Gerald Clark, and played with Hot. What's it? Hot. What's that band? Can you believe it? Man, Copley. What's that band? Hot Water. And then he started this amazing fusion band called the Rocks Candy Kings, which I saw I saw them a couple of times, and it's an amazing fun band. But Guy sits in Norway, and he's going to cater with us in the zone all the way from Norway next week, and that'll be fun. And after that, I'm going to keep on sorting out Heine. Don't you worry, Heine will be here. En dan sal ons 'n bietjie praat oor daai nuwe materiaal se laaste song as hy album uitkry.
Ja, this was get him in line.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. Okay, so thank you guys. Thanks everybody. What we playing out with is also just please excuse the clumsy video building that I op julle losgelaat het, but there's the last track on the album, this one that's currently available, called Freak Train. So we're going to be playing out with Freak Train, and then we see you next week with Guy Collins, and the week after that with Heine Toys Amabulu. Thanks, David Villiers, Jeremiah Brimstone Band.
Good stuff.
Baie lekker geweest.
Stay well.
Goed gaan daar.
Across these fields and sleepers in a closed-up carriage smelling like a barnyard, not like a barn, like a latrine. On this freak train. Outside, the wind is whistling like a lonely boy, while in here we're all burning in our common misery. Or sitting back vacant with old dead-eye look, just like antediluvian half-wits drooling at the red-dim sunset on this freak train. Freak train. train. Holy, 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 holy freight train. Holy, 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 holy freight train. Brother, here's the stench where curling and Satan's live. Oh sister, here is a vision to murder sleep forever. Just look at a donkey girl go. Yee-haw, yee-haw. Now look at a dog man. He's a bark, and that boy, crouching like a wounded sparrow, while Master Toad, he jumps all night. From a lank little violin, the whole of us settling down to the very last sleeper with them tracks, they open up eternal year. On this freak train, holy, 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 holy freak train.